Let's call this meeting to order. This is a special joint county operations and finance audit and legislative affairs committee meeting. And we have one resolution on the agenda, which is the Health and Human Services IT Fund balance appropriation. Can I get a motion on the floor, please? Eden, and second by Betty. Who's going to take this? Mark, you want to take it, or Scott?
Thanks, chairpersons. I'll start, and we'll have Mark supplement. So this is a resolution that has, I think we've described it as two components. The first component is both of them are tied up in a budget amendment from the reserves of the IT fund into the current year appropriation of the IT department. The maybe hopefully simpler one to tackle is change order RFP 09, which is just a shade over $37,000. As we, I think, previously shared at both committees 2 weeks ago, this is a change order for the Health and Human Services building project. This is wiring related to IT and in the low voltage package. This is a change order that under your rules, Member Ruland and myself have the authority to execute, and we actually have done that already. The conversation in the resolution is about how we're paying for that change order, and it's our recommendation that this change order be paid for from the IT budget because it's an IT-related expense. And once we get through the summary, happy to kind of go into any detail you'd like to ask about, what's in that $37,000. The second component, the larger component of the budget amendment that's before you, is to move dollars from again, the reserves of the IT fund into the IT budget. And this is really for the IT project at the Health and Human Services building. If you go back and look at the agenda briefing and the documentation from the Special Health Committee meeting almost a year ago, or a little over a year ago, where Mr. Renault's committee approved, and then the full board approved setting the guaranteed maximum price for the project, awarding all of the construction divisions, with the exception of two that we rebid subsequently later in the spring and summer of last year. There's both a sources table and a uses table. If you look at the uses table, IT is specifically called out, and there is a zero in that documentation. And that's because the we always intended to have the IT expenses be an IT project, and a standalone project for the building. It's also at that point a year ago where we still were determining what pieces of IT hardware and infrastructure beyond the wiring that would be needed. So server racks, any other types of equipment that were going to be needed. Additionally, and included in the dollar figures are the rotational replacement of either a desktop PC or a laptop PC. Once every 4 years, every team member it should be scheduled to get a new piece of hardware. We intentionally planned for the health department, for the coroner's office, and for the regional office of education and sustainability, that all of those offices would receive or be scheduled to be a part, get those replacements as part of this standalone IT project. So within the documentation, you'll see that there's itemized costs or estimated costs for networking equipment, client devices, which are exactly those, also AV equipment. In actually in the project budget, there is $80,000 for AV equipment. Based on how we do things, we actually are recommending that we leave that $80,000 untouched in the project budget, and the $143,000 of AV equipment that we're actually going to need for the building, again, come out of the IT budget. As with every project that Mark brings forward as our CIO, whether it be an IT-related project or a facilities-related project, when he was more engaged in IT, there's always a contingency component. You'll see that in the table as well, as in addition to any of the other costs associated with that. We did appropriate money when you adopted the 24 budget, money for this, and we did talk about it in the departmental budget meetings. So there was $200,000 appropriated in the current year budget when you adopted that. And so what the request here tonight is a total of just under $384,000, and that would cover both that change order and then those costs associated with this IT project. Mark, did I leave anything out? Okay. Happy to answer any questions.
Steve, did you want to make any comments?
Thank you. I don't have any direct comments. I appreciate the committee patience to bring this one back so we had more details. And I would like to, a couple things. I would like to thank Member Rulin for being a key member as the owner's rep for this building construction. I know he's been very involved. And I know he has answered quite a few questions, I think, from several of the board members around this horseshoe. I'm going to give him the opportunity if he'd like to make any comments relative to the change order. If he has comments, we're welcome. If not, we'll pass. But Mr. Rulin?
Relative to the change order, there are a number of places in the building and in any building under construction where you do the best you can when you start out, the way it was spec'd. Upon further review, IT working hand in hand with the architect and the low voltage contractor determined the need for additional data ports and power locations, a number of things. It's a fairly long list. And I think probably I don't have the expertise to tell you that everything on this change order is absolutely necessary. That's why we rely on our IT department to know more than we do about it. However, Scott and I made an informed decision to approve that change order based on project schedule. We have substantial amounts of drywall installed in the building, and it's looming as it covers up infrastructure behind it inside the walls. So the cost of delaying the project would appear to be much greater than any percentage of I'll use the word overkill from the lack of a better choice, but if there's even a small percentage of this change order that's not 100% necessary, it's minimal compared to the cost of delaying the project. So I think we made a solid decision that I will stand behind. But I don't have the expertise to do the low voltage design, layout, installation. There's a lot of other people smarter than me, probably in this subject matter smarter than Scott, who reviewed this and came up with the change order. We just make, final decisions based on what we know.
Okay. No, thank you for that. And again, acknowledging that we do not want to delay the construction of this facility, and that's part of the reason we put Member Rulin involved as the pseudo owner's rep. And so we'd have good decisions with the knowledge and information that was presented. So I appreciate the work you've done, and Administrator Sorrell and IT, to keep this thing rolling and make a good decision. As Administrator Sorrell mentioned, this is really about where it's funded from versus the approval, because we already have the approval to go ahead and do this.
The recommendation about where this is funded from, I will say, started with me. I felt that there should be some level of accountability for a substantial change order when prior to construction, these things had been reviewed. So it was a way to, in my mind, to leave some accountability and set the bar for everybody to look close, be accurate, and not picking on IT. I think that responsibility lies with everybody that has responsibilities in the building and makes decisions about this building. So it may have been, it may be a reasonable assumption to assume that part of the decision to fund this from IT was to send a signal of accountability.
Thank you for that explanation. Do we have any additional comments or questions? Paul?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm not against doing any of this. My question is, it should have been done up front. If IT wasn't involved in the building design, I just want to make sure we never make this mistake again, where we make sure that they're in there and we know the cost up front when we vote on it. I know they need all this. I don't have any qualms about this stuff. It's just, it would have been better to be, they should have been involved if they weren't up front on what was going to be needed and so forth before with the design of the building. That's my only comment. We don't want to make that mistake again the next time, because it could cost us a lot more. But other than that, yes, I will go along with this. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Rob?
Sorry. I know this isn't my committee, but since most of this came through the Health Committee, I just wanted to hopefully shed a little bit of light on some of what your comments were. My understanding is that we have two different really things that are coming out of the reserves from IT that really don't belong together. This could have been handled separately. So one of them actually has something to do with the building, and that's the $37,000, because that's plugs going in the wall, can't take it away. The big chunk of it is something that would have happened regardless of where the employees were sitting. It has nothing to do with the new facility other than the refresh of the hardware was put off until these departments got into the new building. So it really, this big chunk has nothing to do with the facility itself. All of that equipment can be taken out at any time. It doesn't have anything to do with the build of it. It's just coinciding with them moving into that department. So really, this new equipment shouldn't have been part of the GMP or from the beginning, right? So really, as far as the building goes, we're talking about a $37,000 change order. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob, for that explanation. Is there any other questions or comments? Again, I want to thank Terry for keeping an eye on everything that's going on with the building. You have no idea how much we appreciate the work you're doing on behalf of the taxpayers.
Since your co-chair mentioned the same thing, I have to make the point that while you guys give me a ton of credit, I appreciate that, but this is a team effort.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Are there any nays? Okay. Moving on. Public comment.